Now joining me, Mike Monetta, National Director for Wolf PAC. Mike, great to have you back in the studio. Wolf PAC is a nonpartisan organization to get money out of politics or to end the corruption. There's a lot of different ways to end the corruption, and obviously we've talked a lot about this. Most of our viewers know it. It's to get an amendment and have a convention and discuss those different ways to end the corruption. Now, you guys are doing a movie. That's the part that's a little different, right?
Totally new for us.
Yes, so why is a group trying to get an amendment doing a movie?
Well, in short, to let more people know that there's a way to actually fix this problem. Right now, we've got over 50,000 volunteers, but we need more. We need more people to come into this movement, and honestly, I think people need to know that we don't have to just wait around on Congress. We don't have to wait for the Supreme Court to get this done, and that's a big part of what drew me initially to Wolf PAC. As a volunteer in the beginning, there's a lot of groups out there. There's a lot of plans, but the thing that drew me the most to Wolf PAC's plan was that we can take matters into our own hands to solve this. And when we talk about waiting on Congress, I mean you're talking about a body of government that has a lower approval rating than some diseases, right? And that's a lot of people is just their plan is to let's hope that we get 2/3 of them to want to change the way that they got elected into power. So that never really seemed realistic to me. And just I guess to give the audience, anyone who might not have the full background, why Wolf PAC exists, why this option that we're pursuing exists. It goes all the way back to 1787 to the initial convention in Philadelphia that drafted our Constitution.
Hold on, Mike. So I want to get to talk about the convention because it was really dangerous. So by the way, if you guys want to contribute, this is a multi-million-dollar project. So we need just 3 or 4 million. I'm kidding. It's only 50,000, and you can make a compelling movie that gives people hope about how to fix this thing. Wolf-pac.com/film. Okay. Wolf-pac.com/film. It's right there on the screen. We'll have it as a link down below. You can just click on that link if you're watching later on YouTube or Facebook or any of the platforms. And by the way, it's already past $18,000, so almost like just in 24 hours.
Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, we're really, really getting there, and I really want to give a shout out later to folks who've given money to that, and thank you for your wonderful contributions. But Mike, the opponents, and there's opponents to this process because they say a convention is dangerous, often point back to that original convention, and not just Republicans, but Democrats. That's why you guys are, I mean, you are the most nonpartisan group there is, because both the corrupt Democrats and the corrupt Republicans are not on your side and fight you vigorously. They go, that convention was so dangerous, it produced the greatest document known to man.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Well, opposition from any way you look at it doesn't make sense. But for us to explain that to people is a little bit exhausting, honestly. Right now, it's Wolf PAC against the world, as you know, right?
Yep.
And thankfully, we have the most resilient volunteers in the world. Look, it takes about 45 minutes, I would say, to give someone all of the background about a convention, why we're doing it, why they should feel comfortable with it, and that's why we want to make a film, because we want to go talk to these experts who know about this process, and that includes our volunteers, by the way. Our volunteers have read, a lot of them, all of the peer-reviewed reports done by the Department of Justice, Congressional Research Service, American Bar Association. I mean, our volunteers are the most educated, and I would say in the entire country, they're more educated than most college professors on this issue. So we want to talk to them.
Yeah, so Mike, I don't even think that's arguable. So unfortunately, everybody says that fixing our elections is the #1 issue. I don't think hardly anyone means it, because, okay, then what's your plan? Like, it's hard, right? Yeah, we know it's hard. So, but if you give up, that means we're never gonna win on any issue that you care about, whether you're progressive and you say, look, I really want Medicare for all because I don't want my kid getting cancer and then we don't have money for it, and et cetera. That's a cruelty I cannot stand, or someone else's kid getting it. Or you're a conservative and you care about balanced budgets. When's the last time they ever balanced the budget? They're not gonna do it, right? Why? Because crony capitalism. But then you go say, okay, how are you gonna fix it? Everybody's like,
well, just look at the Democratic debates. I think it was the very last one where I think it was Chuck Dodd who said, what's the one thing, if you can only do one thing in your administration, what would it be? I am still surprised that wasn't the only answer that every single candidate gave. Like I'm blown away by that. Like they're talking about doing their pet issues still and ignoring that it doesn't matter. Really, you're gonna do your one thing and then let everything else not get accomplished because you're not gonna fix the corruption first. It is astonishing that more people don't fully grasp that.
Yeah, look, I actually think some of the Democrats have interesting policies. Like Kirsten Gillibrand talks about, Andrew Yang talks about democracy dollars. Give everybody in America $100 to give the politicians because it empowers you and not the corporations and not the incredibly wealthy. Kirsten Gillibrand said, oh yeah, let's make it $600. So that's an interesting proposal. At least she's thinking about it, and at least that's a plan. Yeah. Bernie Sanders said at the end of the debate, what good are any of these plans if we can't ever pass them? But honestly, his plank is a little mediocre on this. And so all of these politicians, whether they're Democrats, and look at the Republican side. Trump said, drain the swamp. And that's the number one problem. People love that, that's why they voted for Trump. He went on stage, his most popular line was, I already bought everybody on the stage. I gave them money and they did exactly what I wanted. Republican voters loved that because they knew that it was true. So what is Trump doing about it? Nothing. And so look, when you say the volunteers know better, they know way better. Our volunteers know way better than the politicians. And unfortunately, a lot of the professors, they stop at, did you know that the original Constitutional Convention ran away?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, no wonder you became a professor, dog. Okay. And so, and that's not the real story. And that's why the movie is gonna tell the real story.
Yeah, and it's important for people to realize that it's not about one person anyway. It's not about one politician. No one person is going to be able to solve this problem. It's just too massive, and so we have to build a movement, right? And that's why this film is important, because people do need to realize that if we follow this path, we can actually end this corruption. We can do it, and it's following historical precedents. We've done this before. This goes back all the way to the Bill of Rights. Congress did not want to propose those 10 amendments. New York and Virginia called for a convention to be able to propose them, and Congress just said, all right, let's do it. And then that has continued all the way throughout our history. The 17th Amendment that's the most parallel situation that we have to today, because people looked at the US Senate as corrupt. It was very overt corruption. They used to leave bags of cash at state houses, and the state legislatures would appoint who they wanted to the US Senate. People hated it, so they used every tool they had. They did petitions, state level legislation, ballot referendums, resolutions asking Congress, all the things that are happening right now around this movement of corruption. But it wasn't until they came in one by one and started applying for a convention to be able to address that one issue where Congress finally did it. And they got all the way to just one state shy of the 2/3 needed to force a convention.
So I love it. So look, there's a lot of good folks who are working on this issue, and they mean well. But guys, unless you have the convention as an option, they ain't gonna do it. The guys who were getting bags of money back in the day before the 17th Amendment, you think they were gonna voluntarily give away their power? No, but when the convention came up as a possibility, they're like, oh yeah, we meant direct election of senators. Of course we did. No, you don't do it, we do it, so we take credit. And here in this case, it's actually better, in a sense, easier, because you're gonna liberate those politicians. They actually hate doing the donor calls for 4 or 5 hours a day. Imagine how grueling and demeaning that is. Please give me money, I will serve you, I will serve you, please give me money. For 4 to 5 hours every single day. And I actually think the corruption today is worse than it was back then. Because back then it was still illegal. You had to commit a crime to do it. Now we legalize the bribery, and we celebrate politicians like Nancy Pelosi who go, oh, I got the most bribes. I brought in over $500 million worth of bribes to the Democratic Party, and that's why I should be the leader. And they agree, and they make her leader.
Yep, right? That's the system in Congress right now. And again, though, to go back to 1787, at the end of that convention in Philadelphia, Congress was going to be the only body of government that could propose amendments to change the Constitution. And one of them stood up, George Mason, and he said, hold on, there's a flaw here. What if Congress becomes the problem, right? What if Congress is, corrupt and is oppressive? Then we've got to give people another way to be able to amend this document. And that's when they put in the state-based route into our Constitution. So there are some people that want to void that part of the Constitution and say, no, we should just trust Congress. And to us, that seems really naive. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. And by the way, we don't have time. This is an extremely urgent issue at this point. I mean, we have people dying, and I always go back to this one example of kids that are dying because they're rationing their insulin. I just can't even wrap my head around that. And insulin was, I'm sure you know the story, the patent was sold for $1 because the inventors wanted to make sure that everyone who needed it had it. And that has turned into this disgusting, corrupt system here where they're upcharging for that drug by like 18,000%. And we have 22-year-old kids dying because of it. So we don't have time to wait on this system of government and Congress.
Let alone climate change. I mean, I don't know if you guys know this, 45,000 people die every single year because they don't have health insurance. That's unreal. That's Vietnam level deaths every single year because, hey, you weren't rich enough, your kids weren't rich enough. And so but all of those come back to, because they work for the drug companies, they work for the health insurance companies, they work for the oil companies, they work for the banks, et cetera. Look, we're gonna run out of time, but I gotta say a couple of things, and I wanna go back to the movie real quick. So the original convention that they had is not like the one in the Constitution. The Constitution described how the convention is going to be to propose amendments. It's different. But even that original convention, people are like, oh yeah, it just, once they came out, Ben Franklin said we have a document. No, it got ratified.
Oh, it actually got proposed to Congress first and then it got ratified. So that's the real precedent of 1787, and that's exactly, some of our opposition says that's the only precedence we have, which isn't true for a lot of reasons that we'll explain in the film.
Exactly, look, we don't have time here to explain the whole story. That's why we're doing the movie, okay? Wolf-PAC.com/film, because when you watch it, you'll go, oh, now that makes sense. Like, now even Democrats who are opposed to it, they're like, no, we don't want you to amend the Constitution because that could affect the Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights are amendments. So like they can't, it's amazing that they don't realize the irony of that statement. So last thing, Mike, so a lot of people are giving already, and we can put it over the top at wolf-pac.com/film. But so how are you gonna make the movie? And what do people get, et cetera?
Well, the reason we need to raise this money is because we need to hire professionals who know how to do this stuff, right? You could, if you've seen my promo video, you'll see it's not perfect.
So for two reasons. Number one, the audio is a little off. That's why you got to hire professionals.
Just to name one. Yes.
Yeah. Number two, he's wearing a Bill Belichick shirt. And that is unacceptable. That is the other thing that all Americans can agree on of being anti-Belichick. That's the next amendment. Yes.
Yep, I've gotten some crap for that too. Yes, the cropping's not perfect. We need to hire professionals so the audio will be perfect. We need to travel, right? We have people lined up all over the country. We've got professors, scholars, volunteers from coast to coast. So that's expensive, obviously, to be able to do that. And we're grassroots at Wolf PAC. We are funded by people paying $10 a month. So to be able to add on to what we're already doing and make a film is a lot. So if we can hit the $50,000 mark, it's gonna help us a lot. If we can keep going, that would be great too, but that is a minimum that we're going to need to be able to make this.
Yeah, and there's some great perks. Some great folks. Two people have already given $5,000. That lets you come to the studio and watch the show with us, etc. You don't have to give that much. You just $5, whatever you can afford, and all of it makes a difference. But $500 gets you a screening with online screening with me and Professor Larry Lessig, who's an absolute hero in this campaign, and so check it out. They're all on wolf-pac.com/film, and let's get this done because you've got to tell the story. And even for politicians, you'd be shocked at how much they don't know. And people are visual. Instead of trying to explain it to them in a way, here, watch this movie, and then you can show it to family and friends. And at the end of the day, what it is hope for actually fixing the system, because we already know the plan. It's already worked a great number of times. We've got over 24 amendments, partly half of them because we did this. We did this exact same plan. We have a proven plan. People don't know about it. That's why you need the movie. Mike, thanks so much for coming in. Really appreciate it.
Okay, thanks for having me.
All right, brother. Good to have you.